Okay, I'm working on a 2002 Mazda Tribute here. I'm going to be showing you how I removed this alternator. Now, I was doing some other work and I knew I needed to replace it in the process. So I'm just going to show you how I got it out of here. Now, some of this stuff, I've got the wheel and stuff off, probably not going to be necessary in your case. But what I've done basically is removed this intake, and I can leave a link to another video on that if you know how to get that off. But with the intake off, you can pull this thing up and out of there and remove those wires from the top side. Okay, so here's our old alternator. We already got it off, and here's the new one. You can tell the old one has seen better days. It's getting quite noisy, and it's starting to act up a little bit. Battery light's coming on. So here is the 3 bolts that go in here, and basically you got a couple in the bottom and one that's going through the top. As it's sitting on the engine, it's bolting up against, this part's bolting up against the bracket, basically, not really the engine but on the bracket. So it's going to be sitting in there like that. So you got to come from the top, get that bolt, and then you got the 2 that are coming through the bottom there. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and it's going to show you hooking these wires back up, and we'll go ahead and we'll feed it back down in there, and I'll show you how easily this goes in place. Now, another thing that you will need is you need to get yourself one of these tools for removing the belt, because the tensioners are really tight and you're going to need to be able to get that. But I'm going to show you putting it back, and basically if I can refer you to one of my other videos on removing the intake. But so I was doing another project on this, and I didn't want to put it back together to take it back apart again to show you this. Okay, so just to show you, we do have the intake off, which is not hard. There's just a lot of little things that need to be removed. EGR, your vacuum, and then you've got some hoses and various things that need to come off. Now, I'd got the coil packs out of here, but just disregard that. Like I said, I've got some other, they got the mounts out. But you come down here, you got a tensioner that you got to get to pop that belt off. So what we're going to do is we're going to get our wires over here, and there's not a lot of slack, but you can pull this up enough. See, this is the wire. Going to tighten down on that 10 millimeter, and then we got this connector. And the main thing, be careful with your connectors, and grab, if you're going to grab the harness, grab it back here, don't tug on the connector. Now, another thing, you've got this plastic housing, I guess as you call it, for the wiring here, and you can see this has gotten brittle and broken, and there's actually a couple of I believe 8s or 10s that hold it down to the back of this valve cover. You will need to remove them to get slack. And another part of this is up here. There is a bolt that goes through that and bolts to the intake, but you will have taken that out prior. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and we're going to attach this to our alternator, and then we're just going to feed it right back down into there. I'll show you the bracket is right here, and if you look, you can see the 3 spots. See the 2 up top and the 1 down onto the bottom here, where you are going to bolt that up, or rather the 1 up at the top and the 2 down at the bottom. See that up there? So it's going to bolt just like that. So we're going to get it down in there, and then we're going to come through here. It said actually you will have to have your wheel off, because you'll have to get through here to these bolts, but you'll just support it and get your wheel off, and then you'll come in through here to get to those. Okay, so we got our connector clipped and we got our 10mm fastened down. We're going to feed it down in there. We're just going to rotate it and go right down in through the back of that engine there. Okay, we got it fed back down in there. You just got to get it rotated the right way, but you just got to be patient and watch what you're doing. But it will fit, and just rotate it. It actually goes down in there fairly easy. But this is how you'd want to get it if you're coming through the top. So, and if this breaks, don't be surprised, because this is like all brittle and from all the heat and everything. So I'm going to go underneath now and just get it positioned. Okay, so the first one I've got started here, as you can see. There's one more down on the bottom there in the back. Last time I had to go underneath to actually get that one to tighten up, because it's pretty difficult to get from this way, but you can get it coming in through here as well. Now, if it wasn't so much work, popping the CV axle, of course, would make things a lot easier, but that's what we're trying to avoid. So every how you can get it in there. Another thing, there's this plastic piece right here that would be real handy if it was not in the way. It would make it much easier getting through here with your hands. You can see that plastic piece moving back there. With that out of the way, it'd actually make it much easier. I'm sure that's like some kind of a mud shield or something for this, but anyways, it's right in the way when getting to this alternator. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to go up top and get the one from up top, because it's easier to get up that way, and then I'll come back to this one here, see if I can't get it started at least coming in through here, and then we'll work on snugging them up. Alright, so just coming right down through here, working that top one in. The ones on the bottom, you pretty much have to get from the bottom, but this one right here easily got from right up here. Okay, to tighten this one in the rear, you're going to need to get under the vehicle, and you need yourself an extension and a swivel. And you're going to have to either feed it up there with the extension, or you're going to have to use a magnet. There's simply really no way of getting in here. Let's crawl under here and I'll show you. Okay, so as we're crawling under here, you see this little center brace. Well, if you look right up here, you can see that bolt in question. So that's the one that we got to get to. Now I've just snugged it down a little bit, but you got to get back here through where this pipe is, get yourself a swivel and extension and tighten it up from here. Okay, this one out here is pretty easy to get to. I'm just using my ratchet out here, just snugging that one up. Now I just got to get the one up on the top, and we'll have this all tightened down here. Okay, so all we got to do now, basically get our belt and stuff back on and get the intake back on, and that's all there is to getting this alternator in here, which I feel like is easier. But there could be other ways. But if you are taking this out the top, you can look at it this way. It's a good time to do your intake gaskets and valve cover gaskets or anything else that hasn't been done. Okay, so the belt is back on. Like I said, I've got this stuff off of here as well on mine, but it wouldn't be necessary on yours, just the intake. But I'm getting ready to go ahead and set the intake back on at this point. Okay, I've just set the intake back into place here and kind of slid it into this pipe here. And it's basically pretty straightforward. We just got to get our little hoses and everything back up here and get them reconnected. Pull everything back around where it was. And really not a whole lot to it, but I'm going to go ahead Next thing, I'm going to just snug these down. I'm going to go like 85 inch-pounds on these. Alright, so let's go ahead and just snug these up. Okay, so we're going to get these back over here. Okay. Alright, so we just got to get this here fastened back down. This 8mm. Okay, so we just got these hoses back here to go on the back of the intake. Just going to give them a push on. And then we'll get our little clamps back up there as well. Okay, now over here we just got our little bolts to put back in. Now this one here bolts up to this, but this piece here also has a bolt goes through that. That helps hold those wires. But right now I'm just working on this VGR. Okay, so we'll just snug those down. Okay, so we got both of our, throttle and our idle reconnected here. We got all of our hoses clipped back there. Just kind of doing a double check over. And we're going to go ahead, I think, and get this piece back in. At this point, don't forget to put your transmission vent tube back in its little spot here as well. Okay, so all I got to do is tighten the bands, and we just slip that back on here. Now this one was already on the valve cover back there. It was already in place. So you want to make sure that that's there before you go to putting all this together. So other than tighten this up, we about got it right here. Alright, so we're ready to go ahead and just get the wheel back on, and we can just get the jack and the blocks out from under here. Okay, so we got the intake back on, and it wasn't a lot of stuff there, and you've seen how easy it was to get the alternator down in there. Like I said, that's going to do it for this video replacing the alternator. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, give it a thumbs up. As always, I invite you to subscribe, and thanks for watching.